Hi friends, it's Michelle Moskowitz Brown. I'm the Executive Director at Local Matters and welcome to my kitchen. It's small, so I don't have a great view to offer you, but I feel like in this really difficult time for all of us as we deal with COVID-19, it's important for us, and at Local Matters we're inviting you into our kitchens. So as we explore digital strategies and we consider the emergency food needs of people in our community and we think about how our gardens can help, this is one of the strategies we're employing. So tonight, I haven't actually had a lot of chances to cook since everything pretty much hit late last week. And I decided that I really wanted to make one of my favorite recipes is a Thai butternut squash stew. And what I've done to get us started is I have been pressing my tofu. So if you haven't pressed tofu, that's one of the things I'm hoping to teach you tonight. This will be a short session, but essentially you can probably see here I have a cast iron pan. So basically what you want to do is take your firm tofu out. By the way, this is a Deborah Bandison recipe, which we will share with you. You want to get your tofu out. You want to get it onto a cutting board. My daughter's crawling around here, so if you see her, it's fine. She's trying to she's shaking the camera. Nora, just do something else. So anyway, I've got a cutting board, and then I have my tofu, and then I have another small cutting board and a cast iron on top of it. You can put cookbooks on it, whatever you want. The main thing is you want to press the water out of the tofu. So I've had that going for about 20 minutes. Other than that, I'd say this is basically a half-hour recipe. Here's my pretty flat tofu. I'm going to go ahead and turn my flame on. So the key to really great tofu is to use high heat. I'm again using another cast iron here. This is about a $20 pan. It's cast iron. I'm going to get it a little bit hot, and then I'm going to add some peanut oil to it. So that's what we're up to next. I'm just going to grab a knife here. And what I'm going to do with the tofu is I'm going to cut it in half over and over again until it's in cubes. So it's a little bit hard for you to see. I apologize. Again, really low tech in my home kitchen. But I'm going to cut the tofu in half. And then I'm going to keep cutting it into halves. So see, it's in half here. Then I'm going to cut it in half again. And I'm going to cut it in half again. Again. Keep cutting in half until you have your cubes. And I'm going to go ahead as the pan gets hot, and I'm going to add some peanut oil into the pan. So cutting my tofu in half lengthwise, cutting it in half widthwise, and then continuing to cut in halves till you have nice cubes. So I'm going ahead and doing that. If you are familiar with Local Matters, which you're on our channel, so I'm assuming you are, you know that most of our work is taking place in person, and given changes last week, we're no longer able to be in group settings. Obviously schools are closed. We're not able to be in a healthcare setting, and we can't be holding classes in our kitchen. So we are doing this series so that you can keep active with us. So here's a cube of tofu. I'm going to go ahead and add like a tablespoon of peanut oil. You know, this camera is a little bit off here. Hold on. My daughter didn't want to hold it for me the whole time. So she's in the room though, so she's just kind of mad at me right now for saying that. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of oil into my cast iron pan. Let it get hot a little bit. Don't be afraid of the heat. It might spark a little bit. You want to wait till it's hot. You can kind of flick a little bit of water in there to make sure it's hot when it's ready. I've got an electric range. It's kind of at a 6.5 right now. So we're going to get that going, and while that heats up, I am going to cut my butternut squash. I'm not a chef by training. I'm a home cook. Some of you may be familiar with my sister, Isa Chandra. You can go to isachandra.com for tons of vegan recipes that she makes deliciously. I am just an average cook, and I'm pretty competent, but I've learned by doing. So if you are having, if you have a desire to cook more, just know that the more you do it, the better it'll be. But this recipe tonight, it's basically, the reason I chose it is because there's a moment where we're going to add some soy sauce, some curry, and some brown sugar, and that moment is mega aromatherapy, and at this point, I think that you will enjoy that experience. So I've got butternut squash. I did peel it. I picked a long one at the supermarket so that it would be easier to peel. I peeled it in advance. I spent about 5 minutes prepping before I started the video camera, so you can do this. I'm just going to de-seed right here. I'm taking, let's see if I can find it. I'm going to take a spoon and I'm going to de-seed the butternut squash. So I'm getting the seeds out there. That's all you got to do. And then I'm going to chop that up. Meanwhile, I think that my oil is probably getting pretty hot for my tofu. I can see it kind of shimmering and sparkling a little bit. So I'm going to pause and start to get the tofu going, and we can keep going with this butternut squash once I've got that in. So thank you for being here with me in my kitchen as I just try to get dinner on the table. As I said, oh, I'm hearing a sparkle. It's been obviously a very busy time trying to figure out how we can meet need in digital strategy, with food access, and through our gardens. So I hope that you're following us online because we have a lot of plans. It's, obviously a good time to get creative, and Local Matters has always been a response to a food system that doesn't work, that doesn't really provide healthy, convenient access to food. So, it's a difficult time, but we're all in this together. So I've got this hot pan of tofu going here. I'm going to go ahead and leave that on the stove. Basically, I'm going to flip it every 4 minutes or so. You don't have to get brown on every side, but we'll see what we can do. You can see my squash here. You always want to have a flat surface. So I'm going to turn that, you know what, actually, I'm going to do my leeks first. I forgot to mention. We'll save the squash for a minute. If you don't have leeks, you can use onions. I happen to have these leeks from Trader Joe's that were in my fridge for weeks, so I'm going to go for it. First, I cut them in half, and I let made sure if there's any remaining soil in there that I got that out. And I'm going to go ahead and dice that, but if you don't have it, you can use an onion, and if you don't have a butternut squash, you can use some sweet potatoes. So that's some good, easy alternatives for you. But with this leek, I'm just going to cut it into small 1/4-inch pieces here. And Nora, can you get me a mixing bowl that I could put this in? I hadn't thought about that in advance. I'm just going to put my,
How big?
I'm go ahead and I'm chopping. I'm using my claw a little bit. Any size is fine. And actually, I'm going to have Nora, who's helping me. Yeah, I want you to put that, I've got a pot in the back. She's going to put the heat on, and she is going to, when it gets a little bit hot, put some oil in there. So basically how this dish comes together is you're going to put your leeks in some peanut oil. Once that's hot, you're going to then, I'll take that, and then if you can go ahead and turn the flame on there. This is Nora, everybody. She's 12.
What do I put it on?
And luckily she goes to Metro, and they're having classes online, so we got really lucky there.
What do I put it on?
You can put it on like a 6 or 7.
I need to grab a napkin.
So Nora's going to, she's got the flame on, and she's gonna
Here's a strainer.
put some peanut oil in there in a minute while I continue to cut the leeks. So that's what I was saying. You're going to cut your leeks, and then you're going to add some ginger and some garlic. I'm about halfway through my tutorial already, so I'm going to try to make it quick here. But once you've got that going, you're going to add sort of a 3-1-1. You're going to add 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. Then you're going to add 1 tablespoon of curry powder and 1 teaspoon of brown sugar. And that's where the magic happens. This is why I love this recipe, because it smells so good when all that hits, and it will melt your stress away. And if you have questions again about any alternates you can do, any substitutions, just hit us up on our Facebook page or our Instagram, and we will help you get through that, because this is a framework and you don't have to be an expert. I'm not using the recipe right now, but as I mentioned, it's a Deborah Madison recipe and we'll post to it. But if you're short of an ingredient, I'd say you definitely should have tofu and some coconut milk. I've got that here. So again, it's going to be your leeks, your garlic, your ginger, and then you're going to add your butternut squash and about 3 cups of water with your coconut milk and you're just going to let that go for 15 minutes. You're going to let that simmer. And then once that's good to go, and the butternut squash is soft, you can go ahead and, your tofu is browning here. So my tofu is getting a really nice little brown there. I'm going to flip it with these clippers. So I'm going to take this stew when it's ready. I'm going to serve it over jasmine rice. I just made the rice on the stovetop. It's, 3 cups of water, bring it to a boil, put in 2 cups of rice so you have some leftover rice. And you're going to serve this over the rice. And you will add, if you have it, some crushed peanuts and some just regular old cilantro. So that's the magic of it. Deliciousness with some crunch. Really happy with this browning on this tofu. Apparently, if you talk a lot, your tofu will just brown, and then you're good. I don't know if you can see that. So that's going to be our final product. I'm probably not going to get to it. I think this is about a half-hour meal, and I'm aiming for 15 minutes here. I'm at 11:11. But what I've got that, I'll post a picture of it, and I hope that you will, at home, give this a shot. I also like to do my cooking with a lot of loud music, so if you're familiar with my sister, that will make sense, the Postpone Kitchen. So, when we end wrap here, I'll put some music on so we can have a little party. That's Nora, of course. You guys already figured that out. Nora, so you got this flame on. Why don't you get me some peanut oil in here? Alright, I'm going to go ahead. She's making strawberry milk right now. So I'm putting in 2 tablespoons, really 1.5 tablespoons of oil where I'm going to start my leeks. My tofu looks really good. Sometimes I add a little bit of salt in there while it's cooking. I put some oil in there, so in a couple minutes you can start with the leeks. You want to do that, baby?
No.
Just give it a minute because we want to get the oil a little bit hot, and then Nora's gonna add. She moved my leeks away. She's gonna add the leeks.
I did move the leeks.
But if your life is anything like mine right now, it's messy. There's no end to the workday. There's no school for your kids if you got kids. There's no end to the need in our community, and so I'm just really happy to have a few minutes here to cook with my girl. And I hope that whatever is going on in your life, that you have outlets and support, that you can take some walks while being really mindful of social distancing, so that we come out of this better than we are now. And I think that we can do that if we stay focused. Yeah, it's probably hot enough. Go ahead. Nora's going to add the leeks. And as I mentioned, she's going to add, after that, garlic and some ginger. So, Nora, can you keep an eye on this tofu as well?
Yep.
Because I don't want to be too distracted. Got this tofu going. Again, nice and hot. It's going great. I'm going to peel some ginger. So I want about a tablespoon of this. So I'm going to peel off about a tablespoon, and then cut it so I can get it into a smaller dice. So here we go with that. So I've got this nice piece of ginger, nice and big. It's great for digestion and for health and immunity, so I'm excited. This has been a recipe that I've cooked for probably 20 years. And so I've done it, with and without certain ingredients all the time. It calls for mushroom soy sauce, which you can get in an Asian grocery, or at Saraga. But this is actually the first time I've ever had mushroom soy sauce. In the 20 years I've cooked the recipe, I've always cooked it with generic soy. So I'm going to go ahead and chop this ginger up. Sorry you can't totally see my knife skills here, but again, I'm keeping a claw and trying to chop on a flat surface. So I'm going to have Nora...
Ooh.
How are those leeks?
They're browning a bit.
Okay, so maybe lower the flame a little bit. I don't want them to brown.
Yeah, I
too much.
lowered it 1.
Okay.
I'm going to lower it to like a 2.5.
So we are running out of time here. So again, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get the ginger in. I'm going to get the garlic in. I'm going to add the butternut squash and the coconut milk and some water with that, about three cups full of that. I'm going to let that simmer, and then I'm going to serve this dish over jasmine rice with some crushed peanuts and cilantro. And we will be enjoying this curry and its warmth. And we at Local Matters are wishing you warmth and connection and support. So if there's anything you need related to food, do feel free to reach out, and we will be responsive because we're all in this together. Thank you so much, and keep in touch online. Have a great night. Let's get some music on.
I'll make you some strawberry milk if you want it.
Oh,
I don't want to hear that.
it's the Fugees. It's pretty good cooking music.
Turn it down.
So enjoy your cooking, enjoy your kids or your coworkers, as we like to say, and have a great night. Thank you.